scaling a business. Like we were talking about, what do we want to discuss today? And I think a lot of people have bought real estate and they want to go to that next level. You're doing that. You've done that very successfully. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, man. Yeah, when I look at real estate, I kind of see like these 3 phases, right? There's like maybe even called 4 stages. The first one would be, I don't do any real estate, right? And then some people do like a deal or 2, right? Those are kind of the first 2 phases. And then like the third phase I'd call, hey, I've got financial freedom. I got the 20 units, 30 units, maybe a bunch of duplexes, a bunch of single family houses. So I don't do it. I got 1 or 2. I've got a collection, right? I've got a portfolio. But there's this next level, which is like, I built a machine or I built a business out of this. That's when you get into the big multifamily deals, or you have this massive flipping operation or something that took you from a hobbyist to a professional. Yeah. And so I love that concept because there's a million books and podcasts and all that about how to buy your first rental, how to buy your duplex. But what about hey, I've got 4, how do I get 50?
So how do you go to that next level? This is kind of the common question.
Yeah.
I get this a lot. I have a bunch of single families. I want to get to multifamily. Yes. I want to do commercial or whatever it is. But that requires a whole bunch of things, systems, teams, and you're doing that now very successfully. So what are some of the things that you've experienced?
Yeah, man. So I like to say the first thing, and this is not me figuring this out. It took me years of, I had a performance coach named Jason Dries, beat this into me for years, which is the key is mindset there. The difference between somebody doing 1,000 unit property or 1,000 units in a year, let's say, and somebody doing 1 unit in a year. Yes, there is some skill set, but you can learn that in a book. There is some issues you got to deal with, but you can figure those out. It's really it starts with this mindset of, I'm going to approach the problem in this way or this way. And so, for years, for 15 years, whatever I was in real estate, I didn't buy anything over a few units. I'd buy a single family, a duplex, a single family, a 4-plex.
Yep.
At one point I got really lucky and I landed a 24 unit that I fixed up and managed myself. I did everything. But that was all my mindset. The way I approached problems was, how do I take care of this? It was this a very DIY mindset, right? Because I came from the DIY mindset world. I worked at an ice cream shop, scooping ice cream. I did that for a while. I worked at a group home for mentally challenged adults, and so I was the guy that was working the DIY, the boots on the ground, right? The kind of first level. So I took that into real estate, and that's how I approached problems. And this is where my performance coach just kept saying, you've got to elevate your mindset. And I couldn't figure out what he meant by that. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is who I am. I can't change how I think. But when I change the word mindset, which is just a fluffy big word that gets passed around all the time, and start saying, no, how do you solve the problem of growth? What's your approach to problem solving? Well, the way that you approach a problem is very different than the way that maybe I approach or did approach a problem, which is very different than the guy working at McDonald's right now approaches the problem. And there's not a right or wrong, but it's just a different approach, right? So I love the question now. I ask myself all the time, the WWJD bracelets everyone used to wear, right? What would Jesus do? Now it's WWKMD. What would Ken McElroy do? Right? It's thinking that way puts me into a different mindset. I'm like, oh, what would Kenny do? Yeah, he probably wouldn't go pick up a paintbrush, because that's how I would solve the problem.
Yeah.
So anyway, step 1, I think is the mindset thing.
Good. In order to get yourself there, you have to start to dabble in things, right? So you have to kind of start to work odds and ends jobs and things that you might want to do, or you have to start, working with somebody that does real estate to see how to manage it. You can't just go from, okay, I'm going to sit and be an accountant my whole life, and then all of a sudden I'm going to have all this real estate. There's steps to that. You have to listen to podcasts and YouTube videos and learn and get to know people and have mentors. And, it's a process, for most people.
Yeah. And what's cool about that process, though, is I say all the time, success is never a surprise. If you look at somebody who's successful, whether they lost a bunch of weight or they ran a marathon, they bought a big business, they're never yeah, I know, it's the craziest thing. I woke up this morning and it was here, right? People are always well, yeah, of course I have a 6-pack. I've been working out every day for 3 years and I've been eating nothing but water, right? They always have a process that got them there. But I think a lot of times we see the end result. We see the success and whatever that is, and but the process is what gets us there. And the great thing is, most, especially in real estate, the process is not super difficult. What's difficult is sticking with the process. I guess this may be true for all life, right? The process for almost anything in success is not really that complicated. We're not doing brain surgery here.
What happens is when your network, you get together like that, then you have people to lean on. They're also beating on you from a discipline standpoint.
Yeah.
Because like you, we put out our goals. Like our goals are out there. We're buying 25,000 units. That is our company goal. And so it's expected. And so it's always like, okay, where are you on your goal, right? It's like that. Are you working out? Same kind of thing. Wouldn't you agree that that environment is stronger than will?
Yeah, it's huge. Because I have no, it's funny you say I'm disciplined. I feel like I'm like the least disciplined person in the world. Horribly, I have no willpower, no self-discipline. So I have to find other people. I have to obligate myself to do things through other people, or get around those people who are not going to let me. I got to get that accountability, whether it's a coach, whether it's a peer group, or I'm paying for it, or just a bunch of friends. If I don't have that, I will sit on the couch and scroll my Instagram all day long. Like, success largely comes down to two things, right? There's like a process needed to get there, and then the fortitude to stick with doing those things, right? So if it's finding, like you mentioned finding a wholesale deal or find any real estate deal, right? What do you have to do? Like, what if you did it I love this question. If you did something every single day for the next 6 months, what would virtually guarantee that you landed a deal? Well, it'd probably be like if every single day you made an offer for 6 months straight, you'd probably land a deal. I think we all know you'd probably get one if you were also trying to improve or whatever. But if that was your thing, you were sending out direct mail, let's say, or cold calling, and you were making an offer every day for 6 months, it almost guarantees you'd land something. However, entrepreneurs like us, we are not built to do the same thing every single day. So then what happens is, like you said, it does not get done. And then you were shocked, why am I not getting success? Oh, I'm trying to willpower my way in. No. So the two questions I ask is, what would you have to do every single day to get the results you want? And then number two, who's going to do that for you? Because you know who's perfectly suited to do the same work every single solitary day? Employees. That's why they exist. And that's why entrepreneurs exist, to build the system and then to have, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like I am do the same kind of way in some businesses, and other ones I'm the entrepreneur. But once you start thinking that way, I was like, if I have an employee who's making an offer every single day, yeah, they might do it half as well as you, but they do it because they get a paycheck for doing it, and therefore they'll stick with it for years and years.
You want to go to school? I wanted to learn how office buildings worked. I found the guy.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, I'll bring the capital, and you bring the deal and the leasing and the management. And I went to school on them. For years. I just looking at the financials, asking questions, and of course your learning curves like this. But you're doing with a professional.
Yes.
And that's how you learn.
Yeah, imagine back in the day like a blacksmith, right? Somebody's like, I want to be a blacksmith, so I'm just going to go figure it out. And they just like get a hammer and a fire and they start trying to make swords, and they spend 15 years making these just terrible swords. We're just like a 3-year apprenticeship where they're making almost no money would have saved them 15 years of bad swords.
And better quality.
And better quality.
And better output and legacy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and this goes to what we talked about earlier. I mentioned that book, So Good They Can't Ignore You, from Cal Newport. And he has this phrase in there about rare and valuable skills. Like there are some skills out there that, like if you know how to do something very specific, like brain surgery, it's very rare and very valuable, and therefore you get paid a lot of money, right? So when you're getting into syndication or any real estate in general, you don't have a lot of rare and valuable skills to bring to the table, so therefore your split might be way, way less. Be okay with that. Just know that you're gaining those rare and valuable skills. So today, like when I go into a deal, yeah, my skills, I can go and raise, $20, $30 million with an Instagram post. That's incredibly rare and valuable. So like now I can demand a whole lot more and I can get more, but it didn't happen overnight. It took 10 years of building an Instagram following to get to that point. People now just see the end. They just see that I got a good poker hand. They're like, oh, rich just keep getting richer. I'm like, yeah, well, it took 10 years to get there.